Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Films and Stuff. I'm Ethan along with Pete. Hey, Pete, what's up today?
Not much. How are you?
Everything is good. Pete is recording on location today.
That's right. Live from India.
Live from India, demonstrating our worldwide reach. It's a mini tour. Today, we also have at least one international show from our Streamer Skip episode, and that is my show, A Private Affair, which is Spanish. What was your Streamer Skip assignment? I can't remember.
So it's interesting. I had The Investigation originally, and that was also an international show. It was a Danish miniseries.
Not a lot of Danish movies.
Not many. And so what's interesting is I had to pull an audible because for whatever reason, I could not get the subtitles to sync. At first, obviously, I wouldn't know the difference, right? Because you're just reading subtitles, you're hearing voices, you don't know if they're supposed to match or not.
No, it's super distracting.
And then all of a sudden, like 3 minutes in, like it started off with a courtroom scene. And then it's a scene where a guy is in a car talking on a speakerphone, but the text was very clearly talking about the courtroom scene, right? Like there's talking about the bailiff, the jury will disregard this. And I was like, wait, is this guy on speakerphone with the court? Like what's going on?
I don't understand. He's testifying remotely.
And I didn't understand. And then like it became very clear to me that something was maybe, I don't know if it was a bandwidth issue because I'm traveling. I don't know if it was just a server issue, again, because I'm traveling. But I could not turn off and then turn on the subtitles and get it to sync. So I pulled an audible and I'm going to talk about Netflix's latest series, Beef.
I'm super happy that you called your audible and self-assigned you Beef because this show is getting a lot of coverage and attention, right?
It very much is. So I actually, the last thing I did before I flew out of town in London is I downloaded the entire series from Netflix onto my iPad so that I could watch it on the flight. So I had like a 12.5-hour flight plus like another 3 hours in layover. And quick recap, by the way, Streamer Skip, we each have lists that we've made for each other. We watch at least 2 episodes of a TV show that we wouldn't normally watch. And then on that basis, we decide, hey, is this a show we should bother with, i.e. stream, or is this a show we shouldn't bother with, i.e. skip it? So, Beef. I saw the first 2 episodes, and of course, spoiler alert, I saw the whole thing.
Hold on. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to back up. Can you tell us a background of this? Because I understand the background is a little bit interesting. It's Ali Wong, right?
The 2 main stars are Ali Wong and Steven Yeun. Most people will remember, obviously, Ali Wong is famous because she's a stand-up comic. Very funny, popular. She's possibly, I don't want to say the first because that would probably be Margaret Cho, but right now she is the preeminent female Asian stand-up comic.
I would even say preeminent female comic.
For me, I would agree with you. I think there are very few other comics that are on her level in terms of not just capacity to sell out, but I think in just terms of humor and likability. Because, and you know, because she's not just doing...
Oh, likability, you're right.
Is through the roof, because she's not just doing stand-up. She's also doing like TV shows. You might know her... I think and again, I hesitate to call it a big break because I'm sure she's been in the industry for much longer, but I became aware of Ali Wong primarily, not just because of her stand-up, but because she was also, I think the head writer or a writer / producer on Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah.
Which was the TV sitcom based on Eddie Huang's life. The short of it is that she is a prolific comedian who has seamlessly transitioned from stand-up comedy to television and movies. Right. So I think most people will know her from her last movie, which was the comedy with Randall Park and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she is fantastic. She's phenomenal. And I'm sure she wrote on this as well because she's an excellent writer. And Steven Yeun, everyone, I mean, if you don't know him, you're living under a rock. He was most recently in Jordan Peele's latest movie, and he was also Oscar nominated Best Actor for Minari. Steven Yeun, most people will know from The Walking Dead. That's the primary cast. One of the strongest supporting casts I've ever seen. And even if you don't know most of these actors, you should by the end of this because they're all excellent. David Cho plays his cousin. He's awesome. You've got a phenomenal, I mean, she came out of left field for me. Do you remember Maria Bello?
Maria Bello.
I remember her primarily from A History of Violence and from The Cooler with William H. Macy. Maria Bello is one of the few non-Asians in this TV show. She had a really stellar supporting role in this. But again, the cast overall is excellent. The cast is also predominantly Asian, which is great. And here's the thing. It's not that it's an Asian cast for representation purposes. It's an Asian cast because it's just natural. And it's seamless. At no point are you sitting there wondering, are these people hired because they're Asian or because some of them are gay or not gay? Or, you know, it doesn't feel like an exercise in tick box representation. Right. It all feels seamless. It all feels natural. It's just excellent. The premise is that the show is basically about two people, Ali Wong and Steven Yeun's characters, who are both fundamentally broken inside. And they have like this simmering rage. And it's a rage that they can't necessarily explain or justify. Steven Yeun's character comes from a relatively poor background. He's made a lot of decisions that were questionable at best, including some that were borderline criminal. And Ali Wong, on the other hand, is like a very wealthy suburban wife who's got a successful business, who's now in the process of trying to sell her business to like this massive chain of stores. And she's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, basically. And so different backgrounds, yet they're both virtually the same character because of the simmering rage that's underneath both of them.
Okay.
And it bubbles to the surface because of a road rage incident. You know, there was a near accident in a parking lot. Okay. And that sets off basically an escalating war of aggression. So like Steven Yeun tracks her car down, chases her down on the highway, copies her license plate number, looks up the license plate, stalks her at her house, invades her house. She catfishes his brother, and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's just so tense and it's so suspenseful. It is billed as a dark comedy, but man, this is like a hardcore drama / dark comedy. There are some moments which are clearly meant to be funny, but not funny because it's just absurd what's happening.
This is a series, right? This is not a movie. It's a series.
It's not. It's a 10-episode miniseries at the moment. It was originally written as one season, but I think that because it's done so incredibly well critically, and a lot of people are raving about it, I sneakingly suspect that they're probably going to greenlight season 2 and 3 very soon because it's doing incredibly well right now.
Okay.
So despite all the praise that I'm giving it, and honestly, I can't give it more. It's just crazy good. Okay. I have to say that right now, at this moment, at the time of recording, this is a mooch for me.
That's a twist.
Yeah. But it's a mooch for me, not because it's bad or it's got any flaws. It's a mooch for me because this is one of the rare few shows that actually makes you question your own life decisions. Because after you see this show, you can't help but think about, my God, I've had road rage. I've sat in a car where I've, basically stomped on the horn because some guy was cutting me off in traffic. And I've had those moments of like, where I'm going to hit the accelerator and I've lost my cool, but nowhere near as bad as what happens on the show. So it made me ask uncomfortable questions of myself. And I think it's also because it's a troubling show. Like the ending comes, like when you see the ending, you'll understand what I say. And I do recommend you watch the whole way through. I give it a mooch right now, and as I kind of told you yesterday, I'm pretty certain that after a few days, maybe a week off, I'm pretty sure I'm going to change my rating to a must subscribe.
You raised something good though, and this is something that I think I've been the champion of, which is we watch entertainment. It's supposed to make us feel something. And some people like to be scared, and some people like to be surprised, and some people like to laugh. But for me, I really try to gravitate away from stuff like this, where I'm sure it's excellent. But if I'm going to turn off this show and go to bed or go do something, and it's put me in a bad mood, or it hasn't like improved my mood, it really makes me wonder why I'm going through the efforts, right? And something can be very engaging and you could really enjoy the storyline and respect the acting and the dialogue and everything. But for me, I really like to stay away from stuff that starts to like bring negative thoughts into my head. It's like, why did I just spend 1 hour to watch something and now I'm going to be like all sourpuss, for the next like hour and a half,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're
So
lucky because we have each other to kind of give an outlet to bounce it off of
we
each
do
other.
have each other.
Right.
That's right, Pete. We
So,
have
so when
each
we
other.
talk about these kinds of things, which are a little disturbing with a little bit of
Yeah.
darkness, some of
Yeah.
us, most of us are lucky enough to have partners, whether it's in your
Yeah.
romantic life, whether it's in your professional life, whatever it is that you can kind of talk these kinds of things about. We can do
Yeah.
that on not just this podcast, but in general as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I saw this on a 12-hour flight. I had no outlet. So
Oh man.
the first thing
You're
I did,
stewing. You're like stewing.
I was stewing for a bit, and then I was like, dude, I have to sit and watch like an episode of The Big Bang Theory to kind of be like a
Yeah.
palate cleanser, because I
Yeah.
don't want to sit on this
Yeah.
flight for the next 3 hours and
Yeah.
question my life. Like, that is not what I
Yeah.
want right now. That's not to say that, by the way, that's what a really good TV show or a movie does, by the way. It's supposed to
Yeah.
do, right? Like, it
Self-reflection is important. There's the time and place for it, right?
absolutely.
Not,
But
not when you're strapped into a
an airline
airline.
with nothing
Yeah.
else to do, that, because I mean, we all joke about it, but like that is like when the last thing I want on an international flight is dark thoughts. Again, this is a mooch for me right now, but listeners, I'm telling you with the greatest of certainty, I'm pretty sure that within a week from now on our internal
You're going to
spreadsheet,
upgrade
this is
it.
going to become
Yeah.
a must subscribe. And I highly urge all of you to watch this, even though it's a mooch. I highly urge everyone to watch this as if it were a must subscribe and make that decision for yourself.
Mhm.
It's that good. This is just an instant gut reaction that it's called a mooch right now. But like in my
Yeah.
heart of hearts, I know that this is going to be a must subscribe.
And I love her. Like I find her, I mean, she's very crass, of course. Like her humor
Exactly.
is definitely R-rated. Like it's not something you could watch with your mom or someone, maybe not even a girlfriend, but I find her to be very observantly funny, and I feel like she's got great timing as a comedian. If you listen to her stand-up shows, I think she's mastered the art of timing, the way that she pauses and kind of like makes her eyes big. Like she has a
Yeah.
lot of very, very subtle nonverbal cues that make her jokes way funnier,
And even though we are not Asian women,
Yeah.
what I think is really good about her stand up is that, and even though we're not also naturally crass people,
Yeah.
somehow I still find her humor to be very relatable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of the reasons she's relatable, I mean, she's very almost too much, but she's very open about like her personal life, right? I mean, the issues that she had like with her husband, and I think they're even divorced
Unfortunately,
now.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, she was really open about those things. And with a lot of comedians, you see that their comedy is a form of therapy as well, right? But
Yeah.
she was always very candid about it, and even candid in the sense that, my poor husband, like I'm making him like such a punching bag on stage, like he's really a great guy for not making this an issue. But yeah, their marriage ended, I guess.
And it's one of the few rare times where we heard that, and both of us were really disappointed by that. Or not disappointed, but
not even knowing the dude, just
and
knowing
not knowing
that
the circumstances, just that because that's how much we like Ali Wong, by the way, listeners, is that no matter what, we wanted her to be happy and be a part of a happy, healthy relationship. And it was just kind of sad. We felt, a joint sadness for that. By the way, just as an aside, Steven Yeun, also hilarious, not known for his comedic chops, but I promise you, if you go to YouTube and watch his bits with Conan O'Brien, they traveled to South Korea together. They traveled to Korean spa in Los Angeles together. If you watch those, you will find that he is actually hilarious.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got this on my list then. I've got to see it.
What about you? Tell me about A Private Affair. It sounds very saucy.
It's not. So I followed the obligatory 2 episodes by force. This is a Spanish drama. It was made kind of coinciding with the COVID outbreak. So I think it started being filmed in 2019 and it wasn't filmed until 2021. So it's about a year old. It's, I guess, dubbed in English. It's set in the 1950s in, I guess it would be Barcelona. I guess the supporting actor who we do know is Jean Reno.
Oh, yeah.
Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
He was also in Ronin some time ago, but I mean, he's well known.
But he's French, no?
He may be French, but he's also that austere look that kind of like bends cultures, right?
Okay.
He could probably play
European.
Yeah, a number of different nationalities. Or when he was in Leon the Professional, he probably could have come across as, except for his accent, probably come across as American, like when he crops his hair quite short, he fits in a lot of different genres. So this is set in the 1950s. There's a lot of emphasis on these older vehicles and the clothing, not so much, but definitely the vehicles. And the backdrop is this. The sister of the police commissioner is she is in what I would guess early 20s, maybe mid 20s. Her older brother is a police commissioner in the city, and her family, including her father and grandfather, have a long history of public service, mostly in the police force. And at the time, women are apparently not allowed in the police force. And she is a very precocious person. And of course, she would love to join the police force, but she can't. So she witnesses a murder, and the police either aren't taking it seriously or they're not really following up on the leads to her satisfaction. So she basically decides to do her own independent investigation. As far as storylines go, I don't think that that's anything terribly interesting. It's also not like you wouldn't discard it out of hand. You could have an amazing show built around that. You could also have a miserable show based around that. I mean, there's nothing particularly interesting about it. Being in the 50s, I think, is useful only to the extent that it explains why she's not able to be a police officer herself. Okay. What do I not like about this show that led me to rate it a skip? And maybe I can even say that as a must skip. I thought this was quite bad.
Oh, man.
Quite bad in the sense that I don't like the show, but I do recognize that, to be honest, the production value is high. The quality was high. The cast was quite good. I didn't necessarily have a problem with like the dialogue or the action sequences. It's not really the show that's the problem with me. I think the main problem is it's not at all a compelling plot. If this would be a little bit more, think of this as, do you remember Dick Tracy?
The movie or the comics?
The movie.
Yeah, I do.
So,
with Warren Beatty and...
Yeah. So it's intended to be serious, right? It's not intended, but it's also not intended to be like a gritty cop drama, you know? Like you're not going to see like Michael Bay level explosions. You're not expected to see like these very gritty, John Wick type fight scenes. It's a clean action movie, can we say, So the pace is okay, but I have to say it's not compelling. It's not dynamic enough. There's no big plot. There's no big mystery. There's no big secret. It's about a young woman who is simply doing her own rogue investigation. And I actually might be okay with that. It might be a little bit compelling or interesting, but I find that they've made the character, the female character, really unappealing. And to be honest, I feel like they've kind of minimized, like, I feel like they're intending to make her this feminist kind of hero, but I feel like they've kind of done the opposite. Examples, you may ask. I shall give them to you. Even the summary of the show says that she sets out to investigate with the help of her loyal butler, right? Which is Jean Reno. So already this is a little bit farcical for me. Like it's supposed to be a strong, independent woman, yet she's doing everything with her butler. Her butler is driving her. Her butler is going in to interview this person. Her butler is pretending to be this person to get information. It, to be honest, kind of undermines her role that she's supposed to be kind of this scrappy Nancy Drew type investigator because she's putting her butler, who's hired help, kind of in the front lines to do everything else. So I feel like it kind of like undermines her from two perspectives. One, she's not doing the work herself. I mean, she's doing some of the work and she's definitely the inspiration, but she's basically sending a man to do it. And two, she's sending her butler, kind of like the hired help to do it as well. It's not like her partner. It's not like she's asking a friend. Like it's someone that she's hired to serve her. And she's just basically forcing him to kind of do like all the dirty work. So I feel like this kind of undermines her story. And two, they really make her this like caricature that I'm very uncomfortable with. Another example, she's taking target practice one day. I don't know why. It doesn't really make sense. This isn't like a shooting movie. She's not intended to be a sniper. She's in the backyard of what is obviously a mansion, right? Apparently her family is very, very wealthy. So she's in this sprawling backyard with a mansion, the typical kind of like stately castle-like mansion in the back. And she is in some type of like fancy nightgown, right? She's not even in like jeans and a sweater. She's wearing a nightgown and she's shooting bottles as target practice. What type of bottles? She's not shooting cans.
Champagne?
She's shooting like these carafes of whiskey.
Oh my God.
The intention is, you know what the intention is. Like, oh, I'm really this rough and tumble girl. Look, I'm just shooting bottles. But it just comes off as so tone deaf to me. Like, it would be different if she was standing in a barn, in a lake. There's a lot of different ways to have like a target practice scene, which to be honest, I don't think added anything to this. But again, she's not in like jeans and a t-shirt. She's not even in like an all black kind of like ninja outfit. She's literally wearing a nightgown and she's shooting at like nothing screams like kind of white privilege or wealth privilege, like shooting full crystal bottles of whiskey, right? Or rum or whatever it is, right? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's just wasteful. It comes off across as wrong. And kind of everything about these first two episodes indicates that. For example, there's one scene where she's driving and she's driving extremely recklessly. Okay, of course, streets are never as empty as they are in TV shows. She's swerving all over the place, the left, the right, the sidewalk. Why? Because she's putting on lipstick in the rearview mirror. And then you see like guys in the crosswalk jumping out of the way, the vendor pushing the cart out of the way. And it's intended to be funny because she's just kind of like flippantly saying out the window, oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. So what I really have with the TV show is giving me a problem is that I feel like they've chosen this main character and they're trying to make her a strong, independent woman. but all the events and the way that they've made her, I feel like is totally undermining her. She's entirely appalling to me, I have to say. Like, I don't think there's anything funny about inattentive driving, man or woman, while you're looking in the mirror and you almost hit someone. Like, where's the humor in that? What is it supposed to show? It shows you're irresponsible. It doesn't show anything else,
Mm-hmm.
So it's the little things like that, which I think are intended to be, ha ha ha, funny. She's so, like absent-minded, or she's always focused, but she's always got everything under control. It comes across as the opposite for me.
Relatable,
So
but
I
not
watched,
relatable.
yeah. So I watched my 2 episodes. I put it away. I'm sure at the end she's going to solve the mystery. I wouldn't be surprised if her brother is somehow involved. I'm sure it's this big conspiracy. She's going to uncover it all. She's going to be the heroine, and maybe well deserved. And I would love to see the story in a different way with a more serious character. And I sincerely don't want this to be taken as sexism, because some of my favorite characters, Tomb Raider, right? We've seen multiple women play Tomb Raider, both very, very serious characters, lovable, right? Many other characters, Salt, Angelina Jolie. We can have a lot of female heroes, but I think a hero needs to act like a hero, man or woman or pineapple.
How could you forget Katie Sackhoff?
But where is she a hero?
Bo-Katan.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Starbuck, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, or even Starbuck, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, we love female. It's not the female hero that I have a problem with. It's, if you're going to have a hero, make the hero act like a hero.
Yeah,
and I understand a female hero is different than a male hero, but still give them a sense of, like purpose, and hold them to a standard that's a hero standard. Don't have someone shooting filled bottles of whiskey in the backyard of their mansion in a nightgown and make me think that this is a hero.
You undermine the character by doing all these quote unquote funny tropes that apply only to women. And that the point of being a hero is that it shouldn't matter if you're a man, a woman, or a child or whatever. None of those qualities should make a difference.
I mean, this is a scene, I would expect that this is some type of scene you would see in a Jim Carrey Ace Ventura, right?
Which we kind of saw, right? Like he sticks his head out the window to drive because his windshield is shattered.
Yes. Like Ace Ventura is the type of guy who's in his polka dot pajamas, taking target practice against like modern art or bottles of champagne or something, right? That's an Ace Ventura type scene. And Ace Ventura isn't taken seriously as a hero. He's taken seriously as a very funny comedian, right?
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to do, and you want to have, Ali Wong be that character, okay, make her a very, very funny hero, and make sure that it's now a comedy series. It's not intended to be a drama series. And that's the
cognitive
when
dissonance?
Two things don't match up. Yeah, that's the cognitive dissonance you get when you try to make someone a hero, but every scene that they appear in, they come across as a caricature. So I do love Jean Reno. I think that he plays well. I think everyone in this series is actually quite good. But overall, the plot and the style, it's not for me. I give A Private Affair a skip. It's on Amazon, by the way. I give it a skip.
Okay.
All right. Let's turn the page. Last week, we had a huge week. Yeah, I had an amazing show with the Big Door Prize. This week, not so much. You recovered with beef. What do we have coming up for next week? I know the answer. I want to hear you say it out loud.
All right. So next week, you're going to be back onto Apple TV Plus. You will be watching Extrapolations.
I am so excited. Do you know anything about this show?
I don't. So I know that you tend to like the Apple TV programs. Actually, so do I. So in an effort to kind of bring balance to the Streamer Skip universe, I've front loaded your Streamer Skip list with Apple TV programs.
Very thoughtful, my friend. I understand it's an anthology, although there's like recurring themes and recurring characters. It's set in the future, and it somehow is related to climate change, something like this. But it's apparently like a drama somehow based around that theme. But I've heard very good things about it, so I'm going in with high expectations that will be met. That's
Yep.
extrapolations. Okay.
Exactly. And I am going to be on Paramount Plus, and I will be watching the latest iteration / version of the Twilight Zone.
Spooky. I can't wait to hear about this. This is on Paramount Plus?
That's what I heard. I haven't checked it out on Paramount Plus, but that's what I read. So I'm assuming that's what it is. And by the way, just a heads up to you listeners, as we predicted, the merger between Warner Media and HBO has completed. They're relaunching their now revamped unified platform in the middle of May, and they're just going to be called Max.
Max. I got this email. You probably got the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sent to me in the middle of the night. It said, with a lot of enthusiasm in their letters, we are proud to present that HBO Max will now be known as Max.
Shares tumbled 6% on that announcement because it was so underwhelming.
I don't see it as a bad step forward. It makes a lot more sense to be Max than HBO Max. And obviously it synchronizes their branding and it's a little bit neutral for everything. I just thought it wasn't like such an exciting announcement.
Exactly. One, it was very mundane. And two, it was HBO is going to continue as a TV channel, obviously. But HBO also carries a significant cultural cachet, right? It has brand value, maybe not so much outside the US, but it has significant brand value. So now to go from HBO Max to just Max, I mean, I can understand why people were a little disappointed with that.
You know, I have to say, this is a rant and then we can end. But when I was a kid, I just don't know why I didn't buy all these domain names. Max.com, how much do you think HBO paid for that? Like $1 kajillion, right?
I remember reading, this is back before Yahoo's bust up the first time in 2000. But I remember that domain buying in advance became really popular because some kid in the middle of nowhere bought sex.com or registered sex.com. And he was able to sell that to some adult website for hundreds of thousands of dollars, basically. Yeah. And that was like the beginning of like this arms race.
The gold rush.
Yeah, to buy all these domains that nobody really thought about. Crazy.
All right, Pete, that is Stream or Skip this week. Beef and a Private Affair. Next week, let's see what we've got with Twilight Zone and extrapolations.
That's right. And in the meantime, if you guys have any other recommendations or if you have beef with my review of Beef, drop us a comment below on this video, leave us a like, subscribe, send us a DM at F&S Podcast, send us a DM on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast, or email us aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com.
Keith, thank you. Listeners, thank you. We'll catch you next time on Films and Stuff Podcast.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.